先生仕事でどっから来るんだ。
Ni semua cik-cik le, nanti tu Hindi के ना जब के शेर समझ 2 साल पहले यहाँ एक बार आया था स्कूल में, तब मैंने हिंदी में भाषण देने का कोशिश किया था और मेरा हिंदी बहुत खराब है। तो आज क्या करें, अंग्रेजी में कोशिश करें? Okay. Actually, this time I thought I would like to know what you want to know from us. So now we don't have that much time. I think the dance programs were very, how do I say, very interesting. I keep learning something new all the time. You go to a Tibetan school and then you have Indian students dancing to the tunes of Tibetan music, and then you also have so many different cultures from Himalaya. Then you also have your own local culture. I would have loved to see Tibetan students or Himalayan students doing a Himachal dance also, in addition to what you have done. So the performances were very much appreciated. So we don't have much time. I think we have time up to 11 at the most if we don't break up before the public meeting. So what would you like to do? You want to start with questions? Because I want to know what you want to know. आप लोग, have you prepared any questions? No? This time I came without much notice because we decided to come just day before yesterday, and the school also, the school and the public didn't get much time to prepare for our visit here. So I don't blame you, but anytime there is a visitor from outside, whether it's Sikong or minister or anybody from outside, you should also always prepare questions. Because this is also a period to learn what you want to know from people like us. Any questions? Maybe Chivadre, maybe. All of this, students always should have questions. When I was a student, I used to have a lot of question marks on my head. Because things you don't know, you ask others, right? Marbe, mashe bazu shabal keshtu wa. That hoje mebe.
Good morning, sir. My name is Sanya, and I am studying plus 2 class. I just want to ask you that how you just come here. आप कैसे यहाँ पर आए? आपने अपनी लाइफ से क्या सीखा जो आप हमें सिखाना चाहते हो? ऐसा कैसे आपने अपनी लाइफ में ऐसी कैसी डिफिकल्टीज को फेस किया है जो हम भी फेस कर सकते हैं, बट हमें उसको पास करने के लिए आसानी हो, कुछ ऐसा? If you want to share, sir.
So life is all about learning, and then putting it into practice. Please sit down. Please sit. Thank you for your question. Life is all about learning every single day till you die. And as Hindus and Buddhists, we believe in life after death. So it's a cycle of learning, experiencing, learning, putting it into practice every single life. right? Now we as Tibetans, we lost our country in 1950 when Chinese Communist government forcibly attacked Tibet in 1950, in October 1950. And then in 1951, we were forced to sign the so-called 17-point agreement. The Chinese government said, if you don't sign this 17-point agreement, then we are going to attack you violently. So on the threat of war, the Tibetans were forced to sign the 17-point agreement. And then we tried to live under those agreements for 8 long years, from 1951 to 59. And then the Chinese government disregarded all the provisions of the 17-point agreement. And then finally there was threat to the life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama at that time was only about in 1951, His Holiness was only about 16 years old. Now, how many of you are 16 years old? Raise your hand. How many of you are 16? So, 16, at your age, we know what we are doing right now, right? And I know what I was doing when I was at the age of 16. But His Holiness the Dalai Lama, being recognized as the 14th Dalai Lama, and he had to be responsible for the whole issue of Tibet even at the age of 16. So at the age of 16, His Holiness took up the political and temporal leadership of Tibet, and he was enthroned in Potala. Then in 1959, we had to come into exile. Many of our people came through Arunachal Pradesh in Tawang area, then many came through Nepal, many came through this area also in Himachal Pradesh and Ladakh. So Tibetans were put up in 2 camps, 2 transit camps, one in Misamari and another in Buxar in Assam, West Bengal area. So Tibetans always lived in the mountains. Because Tibet is so high, Shimla is foothills of the Himalayas. So Tibet was known as the roof of the world to the outside world because of Tibet's altitude. The average altitude of Tibet is about 16,000 feet above sea level. So it's very high. So that is why we call the Tibetans, we ourselves call our land as the land surrounded by snow mountain ranges. So we have Himalayas in the south, Karakoram in the west, Kunlun in the north, and seas of mountain ranges all over Tibet. And today, Chinese environmental scientists call Tibet as the 3rd pole. Now the 2 other poles are North Pole and South Pole. Right? And Tibet is called the 3rd pole or the Tibet pole because Tibet has the largest amount of glaciers and permafrost that feeds all these major rivers in Asia, particularly in South Asia and East Asia, in China, right? And Asians call Tibet as the water tower of Asia. So this wonderful place we lost to the Chinese. Then we had to come into exile. We were put up in 2 transit camps. Even though the Tibetan language which you hear now in this school, the script of the Tibetan language comes from Indian Devanagari script. So when we recite the Tibetan alphabet now in the schools, you will find similarity between Tibetan consonants and Hindi consonants, ka, ka, kanga, cha, cha, chanya. So ka, 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 ganga, you have 1 extra consonant. We have only 4 vowels. You have many vowels, if I remember right, because I studied Hindi only up to grade 8. So we had, I remember we studied e, u, e, o, aha, so many vowels, right? In Tibetan there are only 4 vowels. And Tibetan Buddhism also came from India. So our cultural relations, religious relations, linguistic relations are very, very deep-rooted. between India and Tibet. So when our people first came to India, we were not used to the heat. We always lived in the mountains, in the cool climes, just like you are living in Shimla today, and much higher, right? So our people were not used to the heat those days in Assam and West Bengal. We didn't, even though the Tibetan script came from India, we didn't speak any Indian languages, and we had no skill whatsoever. So the Indian government put up the Tibetans in the foothills of Himalayas, from Chamba, Dalhousie, Manali, Shimla, the other mountain areas near Tawang. So Tibetans started working on road construction because that was the only thing we could do. We had no other skills. The only thing we could do was hard labor. So many of the roads in this area were also initially built by Tibetans. And many Tibetans who are settled here in Shimla had for many years worked on road construction, and they didn't move to resettlement areas in other states of India. That is why they are still here, and they still have problems with their housing. That is why I'm meeting with the Chief Minister and other ministers of the state to address these issues. So we had to face a lot of challenges. Many children died because of dietary problem also. We were not used to Indian food. So then Tibetans were put up in the foothills of Himalayas slowly. Pandit Nehru told His Holiness the Dalai Lama that if you want to preserve your language and culture and religion, then you have to educate your youth. And that is how the Tibetan settlement started, the compact Tibetan communities. So the largest are in Karnataka state, because His Holiness came to India much before 1959, in 1956-57 to India. And Tibetans follow what is called as the Nalanda tradition of Buddhism, that is based on logic, on reason. And the founder of the Nalanda tradition is Nagarjuna. And he was born in South India, in Andhra Pradesh. Nagarjuna Konda is the birthplace. And His Holiness visited Nagarjuna Konda, and on the way was in Bangalore in 1956 and met with Nijalingappa, the then Chief Minister of Karnataka State. And that is why Karnataka State gave the first piece of 3,000 acres of land for Tibetans. And that is the place where I was born. So I think I know which day I was born because my name is Saturday, Penpa, right? Penpa means Saturday. So I know which day I was born because we were 9 brothers and sisters. So my mother doesn't remember my exact date, birth of date. So I think I was born somewhere in 1966. That is about 7 years after we lost our country. We lost our independence. So I still call myself a Kannadiga, even though we look a little different, small eyes. But we were born there. We were brought up there. And we studied in a similar school like where you are studying now. I studied in CHT Bailikopi, right? So we had to overcome a lot of hardship, particularly His Holiness the Dalai Lama. About 85,000 Tibetans came into India, preceding or following His Holiness. So when we were young, we used to keep hearing from our parents, from our neighbors as to what the Chinese did to the Tibetans. So we are not here because we don't have enough food to eat in Tibet. We were forced out of Tibet by the Chinese government, the communist government, right? So even when we were a child, we used to sit along the elders and listen to the stories about Tibet. And those days you don't have televisions like you do have today, you don't have internet. Hardly people have television at home. You have radio, but other than that, you don't have any means of communication those days, but we used to listen to stories about Tibet. And my father used to advise me that you should, when you grow up, when you get educated, you should serve His Holiness the Dalai Lama, that you should serve the cause of Tibet. So we grew up working very, very hard on the farms. Morning we have to wake up around 4, 5 o'clock, get water from the camp. Those days there was only one water tank for the whole camp of 500 people. So you have to, then you have to take care of the cattles. Then you have to go to school, study, you have to come back home, work again. cut grass, everything. So you have to do a lot of work. And that is how we grew up, doing a lot of hard work. You know? And then after, even in our school days, then I became school captain when I was grade 9. And I used to scold grade 11 students when I was in grade 9. So leadership comes even in your school. Now even when you study here, the school captains, class leaders, so everybody has a role to play in the school. And that is how you develop your leadership skill to get up on the stage, be able to speak. For example, the way you got up and ask the right question. So these are all means of knowing things and putting your leadership skills at the forefront. So we grew up like that. And then when I joined Madras Christian College in 1985, then there were a lot of problems inside Tibet. In 1987, 88, there were a lot of demonstrations in the capital, Lhasa. So we decided to take up the leadership during our college days. And then we started a lot of protest demonstrations in Chennai, in Madras. We were only a few Tibetans there. But we managed to organize all this by getting to know the police commissioner, friends in the political parties. So all those things we started doing from our college days, from our school days, from our college days. So once I finished my college, then I joined some organization in Dharamsala called the Dome organization, which is a central organization for one of the provinces. And then took up the leadership there, became the Secretary General. 2 years after that, then I got elected to the parliament, the Tibetan parliament in exile in Dharamsala. So for those of you, Indian students, even including Tibetan students who have not been to Dharamsala, I would advise you, because it's not very far, so you can always come to Dharamsala. Since you are studying in a Tibetan school, you are Indian, you have to keep your identity alive along with learning something about the Tibetans. And since you are studying in a Tibetan schools, once you graduate from here, when you go to colleges, people will definitely ask you, in which school did you study? Then you would say Sambodha Tibetan School Shimla, right? Then what do you know about Tibet, or the Tibetan people, or the history of Tibet? Then if you say we don't know anything, that would be a shame, right? So you have to understand, because it is for your own betterment. The more you know about the world, not just about you being an Indian, or not just about you being a Tibetan, but you have to know more. You understand more languages that add to your skill and your capability of leadership. Because leadership also involves communication, a lot of communication. So when you communicate also, you have to communicate strategically. To which audience are you talking about? Today, it's a very mixed audience. You have from grade 1 to 12, right? Now, whom do I talk to? The senior students or the junior students? And there are some who reach around grade 5, 6, but very smart. So we got involved, we got started inspired by leadership around us when I remember very clearly when I was in grade 8, then I remember that I was getting influenced by people who come to the school and speak about what they do. Right? So there are a lot of difficulties in your life also. You will face a lot of challenges, but that is part of life. That is what samsara is all about. And that is how you have to overcome all this. And the powerful strength is in your mind. It is in your mind as to how you respond to situation or how you initiate things, right? No one else can decide for you. It is yourself, you yourself. So when you study here, it's not just normal textbook teachings and learnings that you do. Because you should develop a mind which should have the capability to analyze situation and decide for yourself what is right and what is wrong. If you have that discriminating mind, now when we use the word discriminatory, it could be used in many senses, but in here, I'm talking about separating, being the ability to separate between good and bad, right? So once you have that discriminatory mind, then you can say you are well educated. Then you know what is good and what is bad. You know what to do, what you should not do. And that is the real part of the value of education, particularly based on ancient Indian thinkings. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama is very, very committed to promote. So if I give you just one idea of how His Holiness, as a religious, spiritual person, responds to the call of his responsibilities, of his duty. And for him, I find it very interesting because His Holiness is a spiritual leader, but at the same time, he has to be politically correct in everything. And it's a very difficult job for any leader around the world to do that. And His Holiness has synchronized this in a perfect way. So he says, I am one human being out of 80 billion human beings in this world. And we are all same. Whether you are white, black, brown, yellow, whatever. We all are same. We all have the same human intelligence. Right? So, that is one thing. That is why His Holiness keeps promoting human values of altruism, of thinking about others, of the welfare of others. So that is one basic human quality that every human being in this world needs, including presidents and leaders who are creating trouble in this world. So if they had learned that lesson in their school, they would not be doing things that they are doing right now. Right? So that is one commitment of His Holiness. Then His Holiness, being a Buddhist monk and a religious person, now the reason why we have religion is to bring peace of mind in people's head, right? But instead of bringing peace of mind, sometimes religion becomes a tool of division to create disharmony within the community. And that is very bad, right? So spirituality is an individual choice, whether you want to follow one particular religion or you don't want to follow any particular religion, it's your choice. You cannot impose it on others. Now, His Holiness' commitment is to bring harmony amongst religious traditions, whether it's Hindus, Islam, Sikh, Zoroastrian, whatever religion. Every religion is meant for the betterment of humankind. So the basic qualities of all these religions are same. But then people create problem in the name of religion. That is why His Holiness has initiated a lot of programs to create religious harmony. So he has a lot of Christian friends, Muslim friends, Hindu friends. He has friends all over the world. Then the third commitment is His Holiness, being born a Tibetan in this life, he is also responsible for the cause of Tibet, to resolve the Sino-Tibet conflict. And the fourth commitment of His Holiness is to preserve and promote ancient Indian wisdom. Now, when I mentioned about Tibetan language having come from Indian Devanagari script, we are also very proud to say that we are the only country to have transcribed every available Sanskrit and Pali text, Buddhist text, into Tibetan from 8th to 13th century. We must have had the biggest publication house in the world at that time. And today, Tibet is the only country that has the original translation of Buddha's teachings in its pristine quality, and we are very proud to say that we are a repository of one part of ancient Indian wisdom, which is very, very relevant even today. So as we speak now, we are talking, some sources are saying there are about 55 violent conflicts in this world. Some say there are about 100 violent conflicts around this world. Now, we are in 21st century. People are much more educated than before. People are economically much better than before. And we thought that this world in the 21st century would be a much more peaceful world. But unfortunately, look at all the problems that the world is facing in the last 2-3 years, starting from Ukraine to Gaza to so many other conflicts around. What you hear is mostly Ukraine and Gaza because these are the two most popular violent conflicts that are happening. but there are many more violent conflicts. In our neighborhood, in Burma itself, there are a lot of violent conflicts going on. So at this time, when there are so many violent conflicts going on, the ancient Indian message of Karuna and Ahimsa, right, compassion and non-violence, is very, very relevant today. And that is the message we have to send. And now His Holiness the Dalai Lama, because of whom we are all here, because of whom all these institutions are here, is going to be 90 years old this July. And we are going to celebrate His Holiness' 90th birthday as the year of compassion all around the world, globally. So His Holiness, over the last so many years, have traveled to about 60 countries, and he has been honored and, by about 300 organizations and institutions. So if each of these institutions and organizations organize one program based on the full commitment of His Holiness Dalai Lama, that itself will be about 300 events all around the world. Okay? So I just gave you a very broad picture, not necessarily responding to your specific question, but in a way I did address that also. But whatever you do in your life, you need a cause. You need a purpose in your life to live the life that you want to, right? And as Tibetans, I always keep saying, you cannot compare yourself with Indian students, because Indian students have independence. They have their own country. We don't have our own country. We have to go back to our own country. Now, how do we go back? Now, those are things that His Holiness has laid some guidelines and also a means of doing that, and we follow that, and we also apply our mind as to how to work this through with the Chinese government, with the international community. That is why I keep traveling almost 6 months in a year. I keep traveling to different countries, meeting with different leaders and Tibetan communities, because one of our purposes is to keep the Tibetan community together. So Indian students, Himalayan students who are studying here, we are refugees. This grant for the school comes from the Indian government, but we spend excess money, just as the school principal reported here. Last time when I came here 2 years ago, the school was not in this shape. 2 years after, now I find it quite lively, right? A little more than 1 crore rupees have been spent to renovate the place, and now it looks good. And I always tell every institution that now we are not building houses with mud and straw, and we are building houses with concrete and bricks. So we should be able to preserve these buildings instead of building new buildings all the time, for which you need a lot of money. Now we should be focusing on preserving these buildings in the manner it needs to be painted every 2-3 years, depending on the humidity of the area, and then make sure that all the existing facilities are there for the betterment of the children for whom it's meant to serve, right? Okay, that was a long discourse. But since there were not too many questions, and if I speak, I can speak for hours. I can speak on international politics, I can speak on Tibet, I can speak on China, we can speak on politics, we can speak on economy, because right now the world is turning topsy-turvy. We are going through a very, very interesting time in the world. Last 2-3 months, we have witnessed so many changes. As we speak, there are so many things going around in the world that we need to study. And for students particularly, I think it's a good time to study international politics at this time. These days, read the newspaper every morning, read the newspaper, and read the market piece also, the business part of the newspaper. Then you will have a much more understanding, broader understanding of the overall situation. Then you know exactly what you need to do under those global circumstances.
The Aranso the Mom, the leadership is Koopchi Rawaina. The Aranso leadership is Koopchi Rawaina. That Digala meet that Mita Mangutu, the Aranso Mizinala. The India Yoma, the Michigana Chicuado. 다 미장 망고 두두도 다 알아서 미념도 튜제야 보세요. 디념도 알아서 다 지솔았다. 다 지솔 찍었다. 다와이나 다 알아서 람된다. 자와 간데도 찍배고래. 디가라 람데 찍나네 야 보이. 동기래서.
아주 그냥 그래 다들 그거랑 왜
히말라야.
히마찰 왜
말이 히말라야.
히말라야인도 봐. 벽에 그냥 얘 벽에 얘기하면 그 제바서 고수고 말아 개바서 the other students won't understand Tibetan, right? 그 당부들이 장부치에 백해진 거래. The first quality of leadership should be being truthful. If you are not truthful, then you always land up in problems. When you do public service, you might commit mistakes because there's nobody who doesn't commit mistakes. You do commit mistakes. When you realize that you have committed a mistake, say sorry to whoever it is. It doesn't matter whether it's an elder person or a younger person. If you're wrong, right? So you have to be truthful. When you do something wrong, apologize, then it's done. But if you try to hide those things in the name of power, if you do nepotism, you do favor to people whom you know, you do all those bad things, and then you always have to wonder who's going to dig out this skeleton out of my closet, right? So you always have to fear who's going to find out the reality. So if you are truthful, you don't have to fear anything. You can express yourself at any platform, right? So honesty and being truthful is very important. And then personal integrity is very important. We say when you do public service, the personal integrity in terms of if there is a fund to a particular project, then you spend the money, the whole money for what the project is meant for. You don't steal public money. Right? As public servants, you may be doing good things, you may be able to achieve good things because of luck, or you are very able in your own way. But if you steal money, public money, that will chase you all your life, not just yourself. They will point finger at you and say, oh, this is the guy who stole money from this institution or that organization. And then the families will also suffer. Oh, she is the wife of this person who did that. This is the kid of that person who did that. So because of your silly action, the whole family and the community also gets blamed for your misdeeds. Right? So His Holiness always says, you have to haksam namda, haksam. You think beyond your own happiness. If you think about the benefit of others' happiness, your own happiness is involved in that. Right? And then you don't do these things like you say something in the face and you say something at the back. In Tibetan, we say ngoko gyamdu, ngoko gyamdu shinida, dune jikshe gyamne jikshe chejorba. So you say something in the front, do something at the back. These are not good things. So as public servants, there are certain values that you have to follow, and then you don't have to command respect. People will naturally respect you, right? So if you follow these small principles, that will help. It helped me a lot personally. And there are also, in Hinduism also, in Buddhism also, you have those nuggets of wisdoms, which are very, very helpful when you perform your day-to-day life. And to develop compassion, karuna, non-violence, attitude and all that, it doesn't come in a day. You have to think about this every single day. Then you develop that over the years as to what compassion means, what non-violence means. So you have to, anything you want to do in your life, commit yourself to what you want to do. And then you will achieve. Even I never thought that I would become Sikh, because there was no position of this kind when we were kids. But gradually, once you start doing public work, and then you realize that you are more, the more you learn, you become more capable of carrying out your responsibilities. So anybody who is doing any public service should be first aware of one's own responsibilities and what that entails. Once you realize what your responsibilities are, then you know how to apply your mind to achieve that in a manner that you want it to be done, or your seniors or superiors want you to. Not everybody will tell you exactly what you need to do. They will tell you what you need to do, but you have to find your ways to do the things, right? So that is where application of mind comes. So you have to apply your mind all the time for any problem. Don't jump into the problem. If you jump into the problem, that you will get so engrossed in it, you will not be able to come out of it. It's like a chakravyuh. The problem should be outside. Start thinking about this. Analyze it, analyze it, analyze it. You don't find solution today, tomorrow when you are on the potty, you might find the solution. You never know. Because toilet is one place where you have real privacy. So sometimes in the bus also you find solutions. Some problem you think for 4 or 5 days, but immediately somewhere it comes like that. That is because you apply your mind all the time. But you don't take it as a stress. If you take it as a stress, then it hurts your own physical and mental well-being. Don't take it as a stress, because if there is a problem, like Shantideva says, if there is a problem that you can resolve, then why worry? You know this problem is going to be resolved, right? And if there is a problem that you know that it cannot be resolved right now, then why worry? Well, you know it's not going to be resolved right now, but if we keep you worrying, it will not help anybody. So these are all what I call as nuggets of wisdom that helps you in navigating your life, in meeting challenges, taking opportunities. This is how I personally try to strive to, because His Holiness is there as an example for us to look up to. We are so small, but still we have to try to live up to His Holiness' expectations. So one of my job is to make sure that His Holiness can rest peacefully, that he is not bothered by all small matters that are happening within the Central Tibetan administration. So when it comes to larger issues like dealing with Chinese government, then you can always seek His Holiness' advice. So that is how we try to keep up, even with my limited standing. We always try to keep up and see. And the more you travel, the more people you meet, the more you communicate with the world, then you become that much more confident of what you want to do. So today, because of my experience of being in the Tibetan Parliament for 20 years, and then as Sikong in the last 4 years, I can tell you that I can stand with any leader in this world, shoulder to shoulder, and be able to speak at an audience. And that is where we have reached now, because of His Holiness and the schools that were run by the Indian government for the Tibetans, and we are a product of such schools. And we are looking for now, we expect your generation to be much more capable leaders than us, because you have much more facility than us, right? Okay. Yeah, okay. Enough for today. Otherwise, I always like to spend a lot of time with children.
Good morning, sir.
Please, go on.
सर जैसे कि हमारे स्कूल में भी आर्ट्स है ना, तो क्या कुछ स्ट्रीम्स और न्यू सब्जेक्ट्स आएंगे हमारे स्कूल में, लाइक नॉन मेडिकल, मेडिकल, कॉमर्स?
Now you are how many students here? 210, 236, 285 in total. The Indian government has developed a basic education policy. Which year was it? 2020? Where? 2020. Now in that, Dina Yomarbe, because Chidachuni stream Sunga the education policy of the Indian government provides for every higher secondary school to have all the streams to choose from. Now that is applicable and that is of course very viable for Indian students that are run by Kendriya Vidyalayas and others, because it's larger concentration of Indian students in a specific region or place, so it's convenient. But for the Tibetans, we are scattered in 10 different states and 2 union territories, right? So it's, even though we would love to have all the 3 different courses in one school, then you will have to look at all the facilities that we will need to provide for science, commerce teachers. That is why for the Tibetan schools, we have some schools which has commerce, some schools which has science, some schools which has arts. So the choices are limited as of now, because we run about 61 schools. And the number of students is only about 15,000, 61 schools in India and Nepal, right, including your school. So right now the number of children are going down because the number of students from Tibet has come down to almost 0. Those days, many young children used to come from Tibet before 2008. Now since 2008, the number has been going down, and right now it's a trickle. So we have no new students coming from inside Tibet who don't have opportunity to study there. They come here to India, leaving their families behind, not knowing whether they will ever meet their family again or not. Right? Now that has changed. Now many Tibetans are moving out of India and Nepal. So when the families move, they take their children also with them. So we have less children. And then the third reason is the birth rate is very low now. Within the Tibetan community, now we find that new birth in 1 year is only about 400 to 450. So if you look at those numbers, in the days to come, if it is only Tibetan students in Tibetan school, then you are looking at only 4,800 students from grade 1 to 12. But right now, we have almost 50% Himalayan, not in Shimla. Shimla, it's a different composition. But in other schools, even in monasteries, we have a lot of demographic and social changes. In the monasteries that we run, about 69% are from Himalayan region. Only 29% are Tibetans. So with all this change, with all these transitions going on, but we still learn to live together in peace, and that is the most important thing. Okay? Yeah. That name, yeah, I also said, because I love to spend time with young people because their minds are still very fresh. So in London also, in UK also, I spoke at Oxford, I spoke at Westminster University, Aberdeen University, and Warwick University. So I'm trying to reach out to as many universities as possible. In India also we'll be covering a lot of universities by the end of this year. So it's a pleasure to meet with all of you. आप लोगों से मिलके बहुत खुशी हुई, और मैंने पिछली बार भी कहा कि आजकल हम अगर तिब्बती स्कूल में जाना है तो या तो हमें हिंदी में बात करना है या तो अंग्रेजी में बात करना है. Actually, I should be speaking in Tibetan in a Tibetan school. But when जब आप लोग नेशनल एंथम गा रहा था, मैंने देखा कि आप इंडियन स्टूडेंट्स भी टिबेटन नेशनल एंथम भी गा रहा था, टीचर्स लोग भी गा रहा था, इंडियन टीचर्स लोग टिबेटन नेशनल एंथम को भी, इंडियन नेशनल एंथम तो हम सब गाते हैं. तो इससे आपको भी लाभ होता है, हम लोगों को भी लाभ होता है. कुछ नया संस्कृति, नया भाषा जानना, नया कल्चर जानना, वो सब आप जब बड़ा हो जाएंगे तब आपको पता चलेगा कि आपको अच्छा शिक्षा मिला है. फिर कब मिलेंगे पता नहीं सकता, फिर 1-2 साल के बाद शायद मिल सकता है, शायद हम इस ऑफिस में ना हो, वो नहीं बोल सकते हैं. मगर मिलें या ना मिलें, आज हम लोग जो मिले और बात किया वो मन में रखना. ठीक है? थैंक यू.